All right, let's get into it. When I was a kid, one of my sort of favorite pastimes, and it kind of gets carried around to being an adult, was I always like to stay up late. I like to stay up late because I feel like if I don't stay up late, I'm probably going to miss something on TV. I'm going to miss something somebody's going to say. I'm going to miss something. And so growing up as a kid, I always had this fear of missing out, and so I got to stay up to make sure that I don't miss anything. And as I got older, there were other things like, friends having parties and feeling like I've got to be a part of all of it. And if I'm not a part of it, then I'm missing out on something. I'm missing out on, the fun that everybody else is having. And, super common thing that we all deal with. In 2004, I think it was, coined the frame FOMO, or fear of missing out. It's something that every person deals with at different levels. Some of you are like, I don't care about staying up later. I don't care about this, or I don't care about that. And you may not. But I guarantee you care about missing out on your kids. I guarantee that you care about missing out on your life with your spouse. You care about missing out on all of these things. And so I want to attack, if you will, the fear of missing out today. Last week we talked about another fear, and that was that you would be alone, right? The fear of being alone. This week we're talking about the fear of missing out. This whole month I'm going to be attacking fear because it is the month of fear. It is the month where we talk about Halloween and we talk about all the fright fests and the scary houses and all of those things. And I never understood why that was such a thing. I went when I was like 10, and going to one of those things was the scariest fucking thing I'd ever experienced. People with chainsaws and fake blood everywhere and all this shit, and it was like, man, this was crazy. But people love it. They love it because fear makes us feel alive, right? Fear makes you feel alive, makes you feel something that you didn't feel before. And so when you have a fear of something, obviously, I'm not talking about necessarily from a phobia standpoint of, like a psychologist would. I'm not here to diagnose anybody, but we all have a fear of missing out. Um, and, as a kid, I had a fear of missing out on going to that scare, floor or whatever they call it back then, haunted house. I had a fear of missing out, so I'm going to go with my friends. And I was like, I'll never go again. That was like the worst experience ever. I was scared shitless as a 10-year-old with chainsaws and blood and all that stuff. And so we go and we be a part of those things. And so when I thought about, this week and what specifically, what that fear of missing out was, I started to do some research into what that actually means. And it's the anxiety you are missing out on experiences that overtly that feel unfair. It's the anxiety that you're missing out on experiences overtly that feel unfair. And so what that literally means is that there are experiences that your children, that your wife are having or gonna have without you that feel unfair. Hopefully some of this resonates with you guys. Because if you're going through a separation or divorce, this is exactly what men encounter. Is anybody else encountering this? Put a one in the chat or just hands up or something like this, where you have this fear that you are missing out on your children. You are missing out on your wife in the future you were supposed to have. No one's having this fear. I'm the only one. Whoever had that. Okay, one guy raised his hand. He's driving. That's not safe. Keep your hands on your wheel, sir. There we go. Couple other guys. There we go. Thank you. I'm talking to you all live, right? So it's not like you're listening to this on the podcast. So let's engage a little bit. I want to make sure I've got some live people here. So it's this anxiety that you're missing out on an experience. Like, think about those experiences right now. I know when I was going through the situation with my ex-wife and my kids, the experiences of them going to, like, their every year Bass Pro Shop has a Christmas thing. They have Santa Claus come. It's cheeky as hell, cheesy as fuck. But we took our kids every single year. Well, one year she decided to take them without me, and that felt like, man, I am missing out. And I'm talking about after we were going through a separation divorce, where I felt like I was missing out on that experience. And that makes you feel what? Rejected. It makes you feel abandoned, right? We have to come to grips with those feelings so that we can actually process them in the healthiest ways of possible. So there's this perception, number one, that you're missing out on something. So let's talk about this perception. In marketing, I have a saying that perception is reality of your customer. That is true in any situation here. Perception is your reality. So what you deem as real is your perception. And so if you perceive that you are missing out on something, if you perceive that you're missing out on something unfairly, you are going to have a negative feeling, a negative response. So what does unfair actually mean to you? Unfair usually means unjust, right? That it's not fair that they get to be with their mom and do those things and I don't get to be a part of that, or that they're having these experiences without me. I'm going to belabor this point because I want us to be like acknowledging the reality of what we are experiencing, acknowledging the truth of what is happening. How many of you know that the truth will set you free? That doesn't just mean in a religious standpoint, that also means in this situation here. Because if there is a truth here, and the truth is that maybe you're not actually missing out, but maybe they are the ones who are getting to enjoy something. This is something that's really hard for us to deal with. And I spoke about this yesterday with my clients in the Thrive program, this idea of fear of missing out. And one of the things that came as a fruit of the discussion was that really this fear of missing out has everything to do with you and nothing to do with your children. And what I mean by that is that when you think about your children having these experiences with their mom and her boyfriend or her new husband and all those things, that your feelings of fear are not about her, they're not about the kids. Those feelings are about you and protecting your ego. So then it becomes about you, not about your children. And so many guys go, well, I don't want them, having that experience with Joe Blow, or I don't want them going to his house and all these things. Why? Because you fear missing out. You fear that you can't protect them. You fear these things, expecting the worst, that she's going to put them in a dangerous position. And I get it. There are some women that do dumb shit, and my ex-wife was one of them. And would put them kind of in some precarious positions. But there was nothing I could do from a legal standpoint. I couldn't stop her from having a boyfriend. I couldn't stop her from having a live-in boyfriend who was abusive. I couldn't stop those things. And so that fear of missing out, that fear of not being in control is really what we're talking about here, right? It's those mixed feelings of you want to be with your kids 24/7, but you just can't. And until we accept the truth of what's really going on, we're going to continue to have those feelings. We're going to continue to have those fears. So the first thing is this: is like there's this perception of missing out, and the second thing is it leads to compulsive behavior to maintain those social connections. So meaning that when we feel that fear, oftentimes it can lead to us making irrational decisions. It can lead to us having behaviors or creating behaviors that are not healthy. It creates tension with mom. It creates fights with her. It creates manipulation with your kids. How many of you, when your kids come back and you start asking questions about what they did and what they were up to, and you start diving deeper and you start wanting to know all the ins and outs and all the things, you start feel those feelings of missing out. Like, man, I missed out on that fun time. And you feel sad and you make their situation about you. And by doing so, you take their joy away and steal from them because you're selfish. Hit you right between the eyes. Fucking understand this. This was me. This was so me. Because I didn't want my kids to have fun without me. I didn't want my wife and my kids to have a new relationship with a new guy and for me to feel like I was replaced. That's what this is about. It's those feelings like I'm missing out because I was replaced. I wasn't good enough. I didn't make the par, whatever it is, whatever the story you're telling yourself, and it leads to this compulsive behavior. The compulsive behavior of like stalking her Instagram and her Facebook. The compulsive behavior of texting your kids and trying to FaceTime them all the time to control the narrative, to make it seem like, hey, I'm involved. Hey, I'm here. And to make it look like to your wife that you were actually involved. I'm being fucking real with some of you guys right now. Because this is true shit that we all go through. Because we can't control it. So we want to try to control the narrative. We want to try to control the message. We want to put our hands around it and make it seem different, just like the fucking Democrats are trying to do with Kamala Harris. Make her seem different than Joe Biden. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. I don't care what you vote for. Just saying. But here's the thing. Here's the truth of the matter. Right, is that if we don't get a hold of this, if we don't get honest with ourselves in our compulsiveness, and start really understanding what is going on, we are going to miss out on relationship with our children because we're so focused on what we missed, we don't see what we have. So I'm going to break down 3 things. I'm going to get all teacher on you guys today. 3 things that you must do if you have this fear of missing out. Hopefully you guys are ready for this. All right. Number 1, we have to attack fear with gratitude. We have to attack this fear of missing out with gratitude. It's not about what I don't get to do, it's about what I get to do. I was talking to one of my guys yesterday, one of the clients after this discussion or during this discussion, and we were talking about the fact that, he's got a less than 2-year-old baby, 18 months old, whatever. And his fear is that he's going to miss out on first things like first word or first steps or whatever, not first word, but the things that come after where he's been up to at this point. And I said, that's a valid concern. But if you are afraid of that, meaning that you've given power to that thing, then you are susceptible to disempowerment. You are susceptible to victim thinking. You are susceptible to thinking that woe is me, that the world is out to get me, that I am not in control of myself. And you are susceptible to behaviors and attitudes and beliefs that will destroy your relationship with your kid as you grow. Because you'll have this bitterness, this resentment in you that says, man, it's not fair that I didn't get to see this. It's not fair that I missed this. It's not fair that I didn't have that. Because your attitude will come from that place versus, wow, buddy, I'm so happy that you got your first hit. Unfortunately, dad couldn't be there because of the situation that we're in, but I'm so happy for you. Wow, daughter, I'm so glad you were able to take your first step. It breaks my heart that I wasn't there, but I'm so glad you were able to do that. And I hope mom maybe made a video, and if she didn't, that's okay too. Because here's the thing is the gratitude is, what did I get to experience? What have I had the opportunity to experience? There are people every day. One of my clients, his daughter, I think she was around 6 years old, right before he became a client of ours. Wife and him are going through shit because his daughter had cancer, and she ended up passing away in the middle of his program with us. 6, 7 years old. He will never get to hold his baby girl again. He will never get to see her, get married or any of those things. Context is everything. But here's what he gets to do. He gets to be grateful for the years he had. He gets to be grateful for what was happening in the time that she was on this earth. And even past the sickness, he gets to be grateful for the time he had with her and grateful for the words that she shared with him and the honesty and the looking her in the eyes and kissing her on the forehead, tucking her in at night. He gets to be grateful for that. And in his gratitude, he's able to overcome and destroy fear. The fear of missing out, because there is no fear when you actually come to a place of knowing I actually had great things and I didn't lose those things. Those memories can never be taken away from me. The experiences you have with your children, with your family, with your wife, you can look at those pictures and those things will never be taken away from you. They happened. I took my kids to Disney World. I took my kids to vacations and with my wife, and we did the Christmas thing and all that stuff. None of that can go away ever. If I look back to 2009 or 2012 or 2017 or 2004 or whatever, all of those experiences can never leave. They happened. And I will be grateful for those experiences that I had with them. So that when I miss out on things in the future, I'm not actually missing out, but I'm allowing them to have their life with their mom. I'm allowing them to grow into who they're going to be. I have a 19-year-old daughter who's in college. I'm missing out on all kinds of stuff with her. I get to connect with her every other week or so. We have coffee. She catches me up on life, but I'm missing out on everything. She doesn't tell me everything anymore. She doesn't, come to my bedroom at night and say goodnight. I'm missing out on all those things. But if I focus on the fact that she's not here and I can't say goodnight to her and kiss her on the forehead and hug her like I used to, like when she was a little baby, if I focus on that, I'm going to be a sad, depressed fuck. And this is what we do as men, because we're so wrapped up in our thinking about what we don't have instead of looking at and being grateful for what we do have. And the key to freedom is being able to be content in what we've had, not focusing on what we don't have. Because the more we focus on what we're missing and what she's taking from us and all this shit, it does not empower you. It does not embolden you. In fact, it disempowers you. It turns you into her little bitch. Because the empowerment that you're experiencing The feeling of out of control, the victimization is turning her into the powerful one, not you. Guys, if you can get this, there's so much power in this. Every day I talk to men who feel disempowered by their situation. That's why we call this empowered man. Because I want men not to be toxic, domineering men, but to be empowered personally, to have personal power. Personal power does not mean you destroy other people. Personal power means you protect. Personal power means you love. Personal power means you have boundaries. Personal power means that you are not a little boy. It means that you are making decisions as a real man. And part of those decisions is letting go, is allowing them to have their life with their mom. I don't mean giving up on everything. I don't mean giving her full custody. I don't mean any of those things. What I'm talking about is that you're not really missing out. What you're doing is creating in your mind this victim mentality that, oh, your mom stole you away from me. Oh, your mom took you away from me. Or, oh, all these things are happening and I can't control any of it. Versus focusing on, what do I have? What did I have? Even if I only get them every other weekend, what do I have? I remember dropping my kids off at my ex-wife's house for 5 days at a time because we had the 5225. And those feelings of like, man, it's not fair. They have to be with her and that asshole. It's not fair that that's got to happen. Now, my situation is so different from many of you. And I was blessed enough where she decided to give up on being a parent and gave me the kids 100% of the time and moved to another state. I was very fortunate with that. But I think part of the reason that happened was because I gave her the space she needed to be mom. And she recognized she needed help and she couldn't do it on her own. And she recognized I was much better at parenting with my wife. And we create a family environment. So she felt safe enough to say, hey, you take them. I can't deal with this. Obviously, I've got other, there's mental illness, there's all kinds of shit going on there. But thankfully, she made that decision, and now I have my kids 100% of the time. But there was a season, there was years where I did not have that. And when I would drop them off, I'd go, you know what? I'm thankful they get to have a relationship with their mom. I may not like mom anymore. I may not care two shits about her anymore. I care about her as a person, but I don't care about her as a lover or any of those things. But you know what? They get to have a relationship with their mom, and that's important to me. So it became not about me and what I want. It became about them and what they need. That's the thing, guys. Number 2, cut out your eye. There is a scripture in Matthew 18 that says, if your eye is causing you to sin, then take it out. Pull it out of your freaking eye socket. Pull that thing out. It sounds so grotesque, not to get religious on anybody, but Jesus said a statement that was so grotesque, which is pluck your eye out. And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. But in this situation, it makes total sense. What are you watching? What are you looking at? Are you stalking her on Instagram? Are you going on her Facebook? Are you watching shit about stories about this where moms take their kids and move away forever and all this other stuff? Like, what are you putting into you? There's an old statement that says garbage in, garbage out. If you're putting garbage into you, then garbage is going to come out of you. If you're so focused on what could possibly go wrong, then shit will go wrong. I remember when I was leading up to my divorce with my ex-wife, I kept looking up, she had borderline personality disorder. I kept looking up attorneys on borderline personality disorder and how contentious is this going to be and how crazy is she going to get and all this stuff and all this stuff. And I started creating all this anxiety in me because I was feeding myself with shit and it didn't happen that way. In fact, our divorce was pretty fucking amicable. Like, she ended up dropping her attorney. We used my attorney for the final piece of it. And we had a really easy split from a financial standpoint, from a time standpoint, because I took leadership. And instead of projecting onto her illness and how bad she was going to be, I decided to own my shit and go, you know what? I'm just going to lead from a place of health and strength. And I'm asking you to follow. And she followed. Now, maybe your situation is different. Maybe you don't know how to lead like that, or maybe you think my wife would never follow me like that. Maybe you just need to actually be a leader. Maybe you need to actually own your shit. Maybe you need to take some of these words of wisdom. Cut out your eye. If you were looking at stuff, if you're following her Instagram, if you're creating those anxieties and creating those fears, that FOMO in you, if you're creating that with the things that are external to you, you need to cut it out. It's kind of like people that sit on Instagram and watch all their friends go party, see them do this girls' night out thing. Girls always talk about that. Oh my God, she went out with Sheila and Shelby, and it was amazing. Oh, why wasn't I invited? And all this stuff. And why? Why? Because she's looking at their Instagram stories and following them and going, oh, look at that bitch. She didn't invite me. What did she create? FOMO got created because she saw it. Had she not seen those pictures and videos, she probably wouldn't care, especially if she didn't even know about it. We're wasting our energy and we're wasting our anger for no reason. Final piece is, final piece. Actually, let me rewind a second. So we're going to attack FOMO with gratitude. That's number one. And number two, we're going to cut it out. Cut out your eye. Stop putting in shit that's not going to help you. And the third thing is you need new connections and new experiences. New connections and new experiences. This is important, guys, because at the end of the day, you have to create something new in your life. If you're going through separation and divorce and you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know if she's coming back, you don't know if she's leaving. About 65, 75% of the guys I talk to, their wife has leaned out of the marriage, meaning she doesn't see a path forward, and the man does, and the man wants to hold on. I call that standing for the marriage, about 65, 70%. Talking about 5 to 10% of guys who their wives want to be in the marriage and they just need to own their shit and work better and all that stuff. That's about 5 to 10%. And the other 15, 20% are guys that are like, yeah, I'm done. I'm leaving the marriage. It's pretty much over. I don't really want it back. I'm good. So the biggest spectrum I talk to is these guys who are in this place where it's like, I would love to have it back, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So I'm working on me. That's why you show up to these calls. That's why you're on my email list. That's why you're in my Facebook group. You're watching my videos and all those things, is because most of the time that's what you're trying to do. And so you're starting to create some new knowledge base, right? You're opening your neural pathways to new understanding and new ways of looking at things. But ultimately, you've got to create new connections. That comes with brotherhood. That comes with opening yourself up to accountability. That comes with you owning your shit in front of other men. That comes with you trying new creative ventures. Like, for example, when we do our in-person events, we do like Top Golf, or we do like axe throwing, or we try to like do something different every time, because I deal with men in pain, and men in pain need creative outlet. We need to be able to do something different. And so I have guys come in, we do it all over the country as part of our group, as part of our brotherhood. And some of you don't realize that we do these in-person events, not just online stuff. And when we do that, we're creating new memories. I've got pictures of us in Nashville. I got pictures of us in Miami. I got pictures of us in San Diego and where else did we go? Texas, Austin, Texas, and all these different places that we go and have these moments and these experiences. And when you're having those new experiences, guess what? You're less focused on what your kids and your wife are up to. You're less focused on what you're missing out on because you're now experiencing a new life. And guys, that's what I want to challenge you with. I want to challenge you with creating a new life. It starts by raising your hand. It starts by saying, hey, I need help. The first thing I always recommend to guys is my 5-day challenge. I'm going to drop a link here. The 5-day challenge is meant to help you move in a direction. It's not expensive. It's like $27. And it allows you to take 5 daily tasks and steps, some videos, some trainings to move you in a direction towards deciding what you want from life. The whole thing, we go from pain to manipulation to boundaries to understanding where you need to be in the next 6 months and to how to own your shit. And that's what we cover in those 5 days. The link, I think we're going to post the link here. Let me see if we posted it yet. Doesn't look like we have. Yep, there it is. There's the link right there for you to join. If you're like, dude, I like everything you're saying, I'm connecting to you personally, and you want to connect with me personally, I'm going to give you a link to talk to me on Zoom. I don't do phone calls. I do Zoom calls because I want to see you. I want to interact with you and engage with you. My style of talking to men is from a coaching perspective. I'm not a therapist. I'm here to coach you. I'm here to help you see the sort of gaps in your life and help you make a plan to move forward. And part of that plan may look like coaching with us. And it may look like you being a part of our Thrive Brotherhood. And if that's you and you're interested in that, you want to know more about that, you want to know what it would look like to actually go deeper with us and take this head knowledge that you're getting at this level and start to go deeper, then I want to challenge you to book a call with me. On my calls, we are going to focus on your situation, not your victim situation, but who you want to be. So there's a homework piece that you'll get with it that you'll need to go through and do. There's an application part of it because I want to make sure that I'm not wasting my time with somebody who's just like fucking wasting my time. I have too many people to talk to, thousands of people on my list that I don't want to waste my time with. So if you're not sure, do the 5-day challenge. If you are sure and you're like, hey, I want to least discover what it would look like to work with you personally, because this is not just something I just throw you off, whatever. Like you would get to be a part of my world. And you come into my world, I will transform you. I promise you that 100%. So if that's you, you can book a call with me. If not, all good. Either way, we keep doing this every Tuesday. Next Tuesday, though, we are going to take a break. I will be out in California with my wife. It is our anniversary. And so we are going to be at the beach for a week. So I will think about you sparingly, but I will still be thinking about you guys because I do care about all of you and what you're going through. My heart goes out to every one of you. I know this is always hard. And as we get closer to the holidays, we'll be talking about things closer to the holidays, giving you some navigation points. We got lots of good things coming up. So if that's you and you're like ready to take action and you're done with just like watching shit, and it's time to actually do something, take my 5-day challenge or get on a call with me. That's all I got for you guys. Have a good one. See ya.